This weekend, a few troublemakers turned a peaceful protest into a violent burst of chaos. The troublemakers carried pepper spray, guns, and were wearing badges.
No justice or equality, all I can see, pure police brutality.
My name is Snehal Shingavi. I am here today at Resistencia Bookstore on the east side of Austin, right at the beginning of an organizing meeting for the People's Task Force, a group that I am a part of. The People's Task Force today is going to be planning the logistics for an anti-police brutality rally that's happening this Saturday at the Capitol. People are being killed by the cops all the time. There are dozens of deaths every year at the hands of the police, but we pay attention to them now and care about them now because of, I think, a movement that understands that 99 times out of 100 it's the cop's fault, not the person who got shot's fault. And that's the way that the media has portrayed every other instance of police brutality in this country. But at some point we should get into figuring out the logistics for what are going to happen on Saturday.
In organizing this next one, if people want to do some civil disobedience, there's the ability to split the group up and let that happen.
There are a number of social problems in the world that produce crime. Instead of resources going to solving homelessness, hunger, poverty, mental illness, etc., we end up tossing that money down a black hole into the police force and creating other kinds of social problems on top of the ones that already exist.
Hey, Mr. Cop, why did you shoot that innocent little school youth? Told him to stop and he obeyed, and yet you shot him anyway.
The institution of the police are designed in the United States to function to protect private property more than they are to actually protect and serve the population. And what that ends up doing is creating an institution which sees citizens as potential enemies and threats rather than as people to be protected or to be helped.
The people that are deciding to be marshals, do you know that you're capable of de-escalating and in these moments, especially as a white male, which you actually have the power to stand there and protect people in these situations without escalating it?
Police actually grow out of the institution of slave catchers. So the first time we need somebody with a gun who can chase down a criminal is when they are protecting private property from escaping. And as the institution has evolved, it has basically become the sharp edge of racism in the United States. And their primary way that they deal with a crime is to shoot first and ask questions later. Racism compounds that problem. One of the things that the police do make sure happen, essentially, it is to make sure that the rich stay rich and the poor are pushed farther and farther out of their gated communities. The police are used to do street beautification projects, which means kicking the homeless out from wherever they're staying. They're used to do community policing projects. They're the sharp edge of gentrification. And so what ends up happening in city after city is that the police enforce and make sure that the rich are able to do whatever they would like to do. The one thing that we need that no city in the United States has is real accountability on the part of the police force, which means we need actual civilian institutions that can hold the police accountable for their misconduct. Currently, no such things exist. Police officers are rarely brought to trial and even more rarely convicted, and then certainly they're never held accountable to civilian bodies in any meaningful way. Here in Austin, there are a number of good organizations that people can get involved with. There's, of course, the People's Task Force that's meeting right here, but there's also Peaceful Streets Project, which does a lot of watching of the police, as does Cop Watch, but there's also the National Lawyers Guild and the American Civil Liberties Union, all of whom are trying to implement police accountability measures. And here very locally is also the Texas Civil Rights Project. Any one of those would be a great thing for somebody to join.
No justice or equality, all I can see, pure police brutality.